Hey guys, welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We're your hosts, Leah and Michelle, and Bernie Sanders here as well. Today is the 8th of November, 2019. Sorry we're running late. Now, this is actually pretty much on time for us, but we do aim for 6 o'clock every Friday, even if it's usually 6:20, 6:25, or 6:30. We are late today, and it's always something, because Leah so kindly wanted to start the first fire of the year in our wood-burning stove for me. And Kansas had done the cleaning of the chimney the other day, and we aren't sure what's going on. It's possible that it didn't get cleaned out all the way, but our whole basement is full of smoke. So I'm wearing a blanket because all the windows are open down here, letting all of the smoke out. And
here's the thing. You guys, it's fine. You can send your suggestions in the thing, but when you are homesteading,
or
when you're doing things naturally, sometimes things don't go as planned. Right. And you do everything that you possibly think you can do. Did you clean out the chimney? Yes, we cleaned out the chimney. No, it's November. We still haven't had to start a fire.
Isn't that incredible?
Because the weather's been great. And it's just been, have a little nip in the air. So we were going to start the fire. So Matt's like, I'm going to clean out the chimney. But we have a little elbow, and obviously the elbow didn't needed to be sucked out.
Now Kansas thinks that the wood might be too wet. We're not sure exactly what's going on. All we know is it's smoky, and it was smoking out of the pipe. She's not supposed to do that.
It usually just means, that we've got a little bit of something going on in there.
Well, you say that, but like we've never really had that as an issue before.
I have had it. Yeah,
You've had it really smoky down here before.
Yeah.
Maybe not when we're trying to go live. Mm-hmm. And the basement looks like heaven, like a cloud has descended. It's the Holy Spirit that smells like a campfire.
We raise our own pigs, we raise our own chickens, and sometimes things just don't happen the way it's planned. And the best thing you can do is kind of roll with it. And
maybe not when we're trying to go live.
We tried to get the little nip out of the air, and now we have a big nip in the air. And I just thank God that, Matt was working on the fire, not me, because he's like, I'll take over. And I was like, thanks. And the next thing I know,
we got problems.
Yeah, so that was... I don't see any hope in here. I don't see any fire.
So before we get to... This is actually not the greatest of news, but as an interim from kind of a bummer, our basement's cold and smoky, and we're not having a fire right now. I just want to say that it's such great news that Epstein didn't kill himself, and it's gone viral. Mm-hmm. It's everywhere. There's a lady that did it with dog food. A friend of ours sent stockings. They hung in a store to say that. And
go ahead and start with that store. We don't need to start. This week also we're going to cover a story. A Mormon family.
Then that's the one that was
massacred
really
in Mexico. United States citizens were massacred in Mexico. Women and children, babies, toddlers. And it just kind of highlights why Donald Trump has said that there's a crisis on our border, because there is a crisis on our border.
Well, and interestingly enough, no, go ahead and do that story and tell them about it.
No, I'm ready to do the Epstein story.
Okay. All right. So we're going to start with the Project Veritas one. Do you want to give them a backstory on that?
Go ahead.
So James O'Keefe and Project Veritas have made themselves a name that is reputable, that is causing people in the upper echelons of all mainstream media to realize that it's time to talk about the corruption. And they're going to him, and they're giving him these groundbreaking, I know you and I have both actually heard this, but we only have one set here. But I want to listen to it again because it's really, really fantastic. These groundbreaking revelations. Now, this lady, Amy Robach, let me switch over to Project Veritas YouTube channel so you guys can see it. She comes across really, really well. Pause that really quick. She had a story, and she's going to tell you all of this, so I don't really need to sum it up, but she had the story of Epstein 3 years ago. She's been trying for 3 years to get it on. And so I think we should do you want to just watch the whole thing? Mm-hmm. So without further ado, let's hear from Amy herself.
had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. It's all coming. I had it all 3 years ago.
Put your right hand, please.
Yes.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you?
Yes, I do.
First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton, we had everything. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air.
That's tape leaked to us by our latest network insider. This brave insider works at ABC News. ABC News anchorwoman Amy Robach is talking to her producer on a hot mic. She says she had the Jeffrey Epstein story 3 years ago, and her bosses at ABC News spiked it.
And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal.
Our insider told us this tape was recorded earlier this year in late August, a day or so after this NPR report came out sharply criticizing ABC News for not broadcasting the Robach-Giuffre interview years ago.
ABC has episodically covered the scandal, yet the interview was never broadcast, and Giuffre says she was never told why.
Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying, there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. I had it all 3 years ago.
But the creepy thing is that we would make access to all of these high-profile people.
Well, then I got a little concerned about why I couldn't get on.
On the leaked insider tape, Amy Robach says she had the Jeffrey Epstein story 3 years prior, but her exclusive interview was shelved. Robach says in the leaked tape there was a lot of pressure from Buckingham Palace. According to NPR, the famed lawyer Alan Dershowitz also pressured the network to kill the story.
Shortly before the interview was due to air, Harvard Emeritus Law Professor Alan Dershowitz called the network. He was also one of Epstein's lead defense attorneys.
We wonder if the story was killed to protect the rich and powerful. It seems few were worried about protecting the women who may have been Jeffrey Epstein's victims. Remember, Epstein was still a free man 3 years ago. And just to be clear, the interview has still not aired. What is ABC News waiting for, or who are they still protecting?
She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything.
Robach also has no doubt about what happened to Epstein when he finally was arrested and jailed.
So do I think he was killed? 100%. Yes, I do. Because he made his whole living blackmailing people. Yeah. There were a lot of men in those planes, a lot of men who visited that island, a lot of powerful men who came into that apartment.
When I heard he was found dead, was Giselle selling the money?
I knew immediately. And they made it seem as though he made that suicide attempt 2 weeks earlier, but his lawyers claimed that he was roughed up by his cellmate around the neck. That was all like to plant the seed, and then that's why I really believe it. Like, really believe it.
The last of the leaked tape has Robach talking about alleged Epstein conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell and how she should be very careful.
He's got to have left evidence in the unexplained.
Well, Ghislaine Maxwell, who I had all sorts of stuff on her too. I love it. I'm like, it's so funny to hear everyone say her name now because I'm like, oh my God, like I had all the, and everyone's like, who's that? Who cares? I kept getting that. Who cares? She knows everything. She knows. She should be careful. Well, she was his, like, she went out and recruited all of these girls. She should watch her back. Because if she goes, I mean, I'd have like security guards all around me.
The brave insider who leaked this tape to us does not know who at ABC News spiked the story, but someone at ABC does. Our question: who killed the Epstein story at ABC News and why? Help us find out. James Goldston is the president of ABC News. What did he know, and when did he know it? Here's the landline number for ABC News President Goldston and his Twitter account. If you're an insider at ABC News or any other major media outlet or big tech company and you have seen corruption or...
All right. You know, I watched O'Keefe on Crowder the other day, and he even said just how well Amy Robach, comes across in this video. However, that being said, I kind of feel sorry for her just a little bit because it's not her fault that her story was shelved, and now this has been released, and now she is gonna need bodyguards.
Well, that, and she has had to come out with a statement, said it wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't
right.
ready. Thank you, Boss Taurus, for your tips. Kansas is currently working on the wood-burning stove now. It could just be maybe not a blockage.
Yeah, it could just be an air blockage.
An air blockage. Never heard of that, but
well, it makes sense because the reason why you get draw is because you've got the cold air and the hot air, and if somewhere in the middle of that pipe, it's not actually completing that. You know, it like. It's like cold air and then hot air again. It's gonna like stop it from actually completing the draw.
If it's not smoking again, gotta put a couple more logs in there. See what happens. Warm this place up,
or just smoke us out.
I don't know. It stopped. It stopped smoking out the pipe
because the fire stopped.
No, it didn't. It was still going.
No, it's out. He's got it open and everything right now.
No, before then.
Because the fire was going out.
No, it wasn't. It was still smoking.
We are such sisters. We will argue on air in front of everyone, and we have no problem doing it.
We do.
Maybe a little problem.
Okay, here is a, well, no, I'm serious about that. It was drawing, it was working, and nobody was believing
Well,
me.
what he can do is he can try the match test and stick it in there and see if it is drawing.
It had cleared it out somehow. Something cleared it.
Well,
and
it
so
could
that would make
the hot
sense.
air.
And I said, looks like something cleared it. And you're like, no, couldn't have cleared that way. But unless it was an air pocket that got cleared.
Right, which makes more sense. Because we don't really build up a lot of creosote in our pipes at all to start with.
So then you got to get it hot again, or you're going to another air pocket. No? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not a physicist.
Well, maybe don't try again.
So this is great. This company right here that decided to print
Tactical
on the bottom of their...
Ops Brewing in Fresno is now making cans with the message, Epstein didn't kill himself.
I love it.
There's so many memes out there.
Well, even our friends that were just playing Scrabble the other day put it together. Epstein didn't kill himself. The Clintons did. It was, yeah.
Press away to Joe Biden. This candidate is arguing with New Hampshire officials that we should be able to get on the ballot. And then someone walked in and asked the Epstein guy to move out of the way so he could file for a ballot. Epstein didn't kill himself.
Oh, my gosh.
Epstein didn't kill himself. Everywhere people are putting it was somebody paged Epstein didn't kill himself at the airport.
But what does it mean? Do you think that people understand what they're saying when they're joining in on it? I think that most of us, obviously we do, and most of the people in our circle do, but it's kind of become this mainstream thing where like even kids are talking about it. Do you think they realize what they're saying? Because they're
saying the Clintons or somebody big high up killed Epstein.
But I don't think these young people know that.
And yeah, I mean, seriously. So, you guys saw that major bombshell. Well, CBS said that they had a producer who had access to this tape and fired a producer.
Even though she claims she didn't leak it.
The leaker of the Epstein cover-up tape is still working for ABC News. Why CBS thought they had the leaker and they fired somebody. But Project Veritas on Friday published an open letter from the ABC News insider who leaked the video of Amy we just saw. The letter was signed alias Ignotus, addresses the fallout from the recently released video showing we just talked about that Good Morning America Amy Robach venting that ABC News had quashed her report on Epstein. So breaking, ABC News anchor Amy Robach caught on hot mic. This is what we saw happening. But Megyn Kelly has an exclusive with the woman who was accused of leaking it.
Hey guys, it's me, Megyn Kelly, and I'm here on my set where we just shot a really interesting interview. Have you been following this story about the Amy Robach hot mic moment at ABC?
Got out of your chair.
She was caught talking about how she said she had the Epstein story 3 years ago and ABC wouldn't air it. And she amended that to say, well, I didn't have the corroboration after ABC publicly had to deal with this hot mic moment. Anyway, the employee who sort of marked that clip in the system and then moved on to CBS got fired this week because they suspected she leaked this thing to this Project Veritas, which is the one that put it out there. Well, we just sat down with her in an exclusive interview, and we got the full story, and I think you're going to be fascinated by it. So we'll post it today here on Insta and on YouTube, and I think you're going to find it.
I have it here. Where is she? Here we go.
Is it too much to say Graham on Insta?
Did you leak the tape?
I did not.
Not to anyone?
No, never.
At any time?
No.
Did you make a clip of the moment?
I did, but I saved it. I saved it in the internal system.
So what was your job at ABC?
I was a crash producer.
Okay, so a producer.
Yeah.
And you were in the control room when Amy made those comments?
I wasn't in the control room, but I was watching the comments while I was at my desk, and I had seen what she was saying, and I went to my manager and I said, do you see what she's saying? Does she know that she's on a hot mic? The assistant said to us that that Amy knew she was on a mic, and that she knew she was being broadcasted to all the affiliates.
Right, so this is a moment where she's off the air, she's doing taped promos, but she has a mic on and people can see and hear her.
Yeah.
So what made what did you do? You clipped the moment? You sort of marked the moment in the system?
Yeah, I just clipped it off. I essentially marked it in the system. It never left the system. We do it all the time.
Did you tell the manager that you had clipped it?
I did not.
Did you think it was newsworthy, what she was saying?
Everyone in the office was freaked out by what she was saying, and everyone was watching it.
So the purpose for clipping it was what? To watch it back later?
Yeah, watch it back later. I did it just for office gossip,
Was there any intention to embarrass her?
No, not at all.
Or ABC?
No, I would never. The 3 years I've spent at ABC, I've loved my time there. I'm a good employee. I've worked 7 days a week. I loved my job.
Was this the first time you had ever clipped a segment of an anchor off mic?
No, I mean, we do it all the time. I'm part of my job is I'm like a video editor. I clip off moments all the time. I put together, funny anchor reels of, them off camera doing funny stuff to use later in the show.
Did you go back and watch it later?
I didn't. No. I didn't think about it after that day.
So was that the last you had to do with that clip?
Yeah. I didn't touch it. I didn't do anything else with that.
You never went back to it?
I never went back to it.
You didn't download it, you didn't email it, you didn't transfer that file in any way?
No, not at all. I didn't touch it after that. It stayed in the system. I hadn't even heard of Project Veritas until this.
When was this moment with Amy?
It was in August 19th.
And then in the fall, you decided to leave ABC to go where?
To CBS. And I only left purely because CBS had offered me a good contract. And so I left, and I was just really excited to start a new job.
And so this week, you're sitting at CBS doing your job.
Yeah.
And what happens with Project Veritas?
They released a video, and I was shocked, but I didn't think anything of it.
How many days had you been at CBS?
Only 4 days, and I begged, I pleaded, I didn't know what I had done wrong, and I just, I wasn't even given the professional courtesy to defend myself. I didn't know what I'd been accused of. It was, humiliating, it was devastating.
Have you ever spoken to James O'Keefe of Project Veritas?
No, never. I didn't even know who he was until this week.
And hadn't communicated with anybody who works there in any way, shape, or form?
No, yeah, I've never communicated with anyone over there.
What was your reaction when you found out ABC News had called CBS?
Devastated. I mean, it's like I'll never get a job anywhere else. It was devastating.
You'll get a job. You'll definitely get a job. Do you think they should have aired her interview?
I don't know. I mean, she was really upset. Clearly she felt that she had a strong case, but I have no clue.
So you didn't have outrage over them not airing it? This wasn't you trying to stake a claim?
I loved the company. I didn't have anything wrong with it, I would never try to do anything to jeopardize that.
What do you want ABC and CBS executives to know?
It wasn't me. I'm not the whistleblower. I'm sorry to ABC, but the leaker's still inside. It's not, I never did any of that. I may have accessed it, but I never leaked it. I never showed it to anyone. I didn't talk about the situation outside the company.
And when you say the leaker's still inside, do you have any suspicions about who actually may have leaked it?
This is something that everyone saw.
Is that right? So it was a talked about moment?
Yeah, it was definitely that whole day. Everyone, was talking about it, was running around, taking videos of it.
So do you regret clipping that moment now?
I do. Had I known, I would have never clipped it. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything. I didn't leak it. Anyone else could have clipped it off.
Even James O'Keefe has come out now saying you are not the leaker, that you were not the insider who gave this to him. What do you think should happen to the insider, and what do you hope they'll do now?
I just want my career back. I want people to know I didn't do it, That's all I want. So.
Thank you.
So, I don't think that she's lying at all. I think she definitely is she kind of reminds me a little bit of an airhead. I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean,
here's the thing. James O'Keefe does not drop bombshells until the people know if your name is outed. I'm sorry, you've lost your job.
Exactly.
Because we don't lie.
Right.
If your name is out there, you have to recognize it's out there.
Right.
We will not confirm or deny it.
Right.
Right? But the fact that the biggest thing on ABC and CBS's mind is not, oh my gosh, let's get this interview out there. We did the wrong thing. We spiked the story. Epstein was still abusing girls after it. We are now accomplices with that because we knew what was happening. When you know somebody's molesting people and you don't do it, you're an accomplice. ABC is an accomplice to all the molestations, all the child pornography, all the pedophilia, everything. And they go after this person who didn't even leak it. But even if they went after the leaker, they shouldn't be the ones, they go after the person who's showing, and we're literally watching this in real time.
Right.
How the left, how the media, how Hollywood, how the Democrats will go after a leaker of a legitimate crime and put a person on a pedestal who's a part of a coup to take down a president who is not leaking a legitimate crime, but is being used as a setup to take down a sitting president.
Yeah.
This we all know that Epstein, the whole world knows that Epstein was the most prolific American pedophile child trafficking ring leader amongst all these leaders. And to know that the palace, to know that Westminster itself put pressure on ABC, that is a huge story. That Prince Andrew needs to be in jail. Yeah, I'm sorry. Guess what, Westminster? Y'all have a criminal in your family, and you need to say, hey, you got Julian Assange in jail for putting out information to save lives,
right.
And Prince Andrew you're protecting because he had sex with underage girls. I mean, seriously. Seriously, the priorities of the left are so disgusting and so repulsive, and that goes along perfectly with the Don Jr. interview on The View for going after Don Jr. and going after Donald Trump when they themselves, he called out Whoopi Goldberg for defending Roman Polanski and calling it not rape of a 13-year-old who came out and said he did rape me later, okay? She literally came out and said, he raped me.
Yeah, on Periscope, we've got Elaine that says, what about the children? They will never get their innocence back.
Exactly.
That's 3 years worth of kids.
Yeah.
Young ladies.
Yeah.
I mean, it's horrific.
So, but what I love is that people are speaking out. And in speaking out and kind of making the joke about it is actually not a bad thing. Because Epstein didn't kill himself. He is a horrible monster.
Was.
But he surrounded himself with horrible monsters that are still out there.
Yeah.
And by getting and keep talking about it.
One of which had him killed. Or many. Maybe it was a group effort. Maybe they went in on it.
Right. Yeah, right. You know, Epstein didn't kill himself. Two guards fell asleep. The camera went off. I mean, seriously. Child sex trafficking and pedophilia are huge. And he was a ringleader. He was a pimp, right?
Yep.
So I want this story to get out there. You guys, however you guys want to share it, you need to share it. This woman is not. Why I Alone released the Amy Robach Epstein tape. This is from the Project Veritas. Dear my fellow man, this is the real insider. Okay. I came forward with this information bearing no motives other than to have this information public. I do not seek any personal gain from this information, whether it be financial or otherwise, and will always decline. When I became aware of this moment, I had the same reaction as many of you did: anger, confusion, and sadness. I care not about petty political quarrels, and my only hope is for the best in all of us. To my fellow ABC News employees, I've walked the halls experiencing similar feelings we are all having right now. All of you, regardless of your own personal differences, in one form or another, do an outstanding job. I sincerely enjoy working with each of you and every one of you, and will continue to do so throughout our careers. To those wrongfully accused, it is terrible that you have been lashed out by the company. I know some may put the burden of guilt on me, but my conscience is clear. The actions of the company towards you are the result of their own and not anyone else. The public outcry from coast to coast of all people, creeds, and political affiliations is clear. I have not one doubt that there will always be support for you and you will have prosperous careers. To Amy Robach, you are the only person deserving of an apology. I am most certainly sorry. Not for my actions or for this to center around you, but for what is clear to what happened. When I first stumbled across this, my initial reaction was outrage, but this soon towards empathy. I cannot imagine doing all the hard work to only have it be shelved. If the past few years have taught us anything, it is the truth that some of us have endured many hardships in the industry, from the spiking of stories regarding prominent and powerful people in this world and to yours. I believe you are an outstanding reporter and have done such tremendous work in the community as well. To ABC News, I sit right here with you all in complete shock. I, like many, are at a loss for words on how this has been handled. Instead of addressing this head on like the company has in the past, it has spun into a mission of seek and destroy. Innocent people that have absolutely nothing to do with this are being hunted down as if we are we are all a sport. I challenge all of you to actually look inwards and remember why this company engages in journalism. We all hold the First Amendment at the foundation of this company, yet forget its history, its purpose, and its reasoning for even coming into existence to begin with. How lost we are, yearning to be found. I went to Project Veritas for the sole reason that any other media outlet else would have probably shelved this as well. I thank all of them and James for seeking the truth. Sincerely, Ignotus, the leaker, the whistleblower there. So, it just goes to show you that ABC News went hard after the Covington Catholic kids,
Right.
went hard after Kavanaugh with no proof, aired the whiny, weepy Jussie Smollett interview, and they aired a Kentucky gun range and said it was Syria. But they won't air real news about real criminals, and that goes to show you that when Donald Trump goes up and says this, see if we can find it.
Donald Trump or Donald Trump Jr.?
When Donald Trump
himself, the man,
goes up to and does this is why.
Fake news. Let's go. I just told him I gotta come over and see the fake news. Let's go. I just told him I gotta come over and see the fake news. Let's go.
He literally says, "Let's go."
Let's go. It's like
Let's
sparring.
Go.
Like, let's go.
Fake news. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. There goes the light. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Sailor. He's literally trying to make a bed, and he's oh my gosh. Now his sister's got to come help. It's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Okay, so what this? Why are my tweets not showing up?
I don't know.
We're gonna play some Bernie.
Do you want to go back to that story of the family?
We'll go to that later. We're gonna go to another whistleblower. So Donald Trump was at a rally. I believe this is the Louisiana rally. Okay. And if you stick with us, hopefully we will have a little birthday party for Michelle. We're going to turn the camera around, I think. Maybe
not. We'll probably just do it here.
Okay.
All my sewing stuff is over there.
Oh, okay. I thought it'd be easier over there. Yeah, that's fine. There was, quote unquote, a whistleblower who came out. His name is Eric Charmella. We covered that a lot.
Charmella. Charlie.
And, so the whistleblower's lawyer is a partisan hack who in 2017 tweeted out the coup has begun. The coup in 2017. The supposed whistleblowing was in August of this year, 2019. And not only that, he goes to Disney by himself.
Yeah, this is actually really embarrassing.
So I'm going to have Donald Trump read to you. I love my life. Donnie.
Oh, I just got off. I'm coming off the plane.
Let's see here.
They hand me, look at this character. Okay, they just hand me this story. Coup has started, whistleblower's attorney said in 2017. You know when that was? That was a long time ago. It's all a hoax. They say January 2017, a coup has started, and the impeachment will follow. Ultimately, it's all a hoax. It's a scam. And you know who helps them? These people right back here, the media. And then it said, oops, the light's going to go off. The CNN light is going to go off. It said, from the lawyer, a sleazeball. It said, I predict at CNN will play a key role in at-wheel Donald Trump not finishing out his first term. Can you believe this? This is and this was done a long time ago. Then he goes, as one falls, two more will take their place, referring to outgoing Trump administration employees who, by the way, have been put through hell by the sleaze back there and by crooked politicians.
Tell us what you really think, Trump. So I want to read to you guys something, and I really can't read the whole thing because it's too nauseating for me. But Horatio had sent me, and he lives in the UK, obviously. But he said, without a doubt, the most astonishing article I have ever read in my life. The biblical piles of butt hurt, I hate that phrase, this is Horatio speaking, are even bigger than the oxymoronic title suggests. I haven't had this much laugh campaign. Hillary Clinton seemed almost predestined to defeat Trump. Clinton was the former Secretary of State, former First Lady, a person who had devoted much of her life to public service. She's highly intelligent and expert on public policy. She was also buoyed among Democrat voters and many others by the fact that she would be America's first woman president. Trump, meanwhile, was viewed by the news media and most serious political observers as a buffoon, the gimp at the political freak show, voting models in public, because they found him to be an entertaining, hang on. I don't know why my internet is having an issue. Wait a minute. Let me click off of here. I'm going to read you guys this article. But I have to go back here and click on it again. All right, let's close this out. Like I said, I don't want to read it, but it has to be read. Because it's too election. Focusing, Clinton's campaign made fatal errors in resource allocation in swing states such as Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, and Michigan. Disaffected Bernie Sanders voters and third-party candidates such as Jill Stein siphoned votes away from Clinton. In the end, Hillary Clinton would defeat Donald Trump by close to 3 million votes, but would lose the Electoral College and therefore the presidency. Trump won, and it says Trump's won. That's bad writing anyway. Because of several key reasons. His skill at developing and manipulating a cult-like following. His authoritarian and fascist appeal to racist, nativist, and sexist voters. His deft use of social media, including Facebook and Twitter. The Fox News right-wing propaganda machine. And illegal Russian interference on his behalf gifted him the White House. I'm not finished. This is not left-leaning Babylon Bee. Or even right-leaning Babylon Bee. As the 2020 presidential election approaches with the third year of Trump's reign coming to an end, all signs again seem to point to a Democratic victory. What signs? Trump is remarkably unpopular. More Americans want Trump impeached than wanted Richard Nixon impeached in 1974. Public opinion polls show a general level of discontent and disgust with Trump, both as a person and a president. Oh my gosh, if that happens one more time, I'm going to read this article to you guys. But when I switch back, I don't want to reveal all these people from my Facebook Messenger here. CBS or Cincinnati Bell, our internet is having some issues here. This is news here, the Salon's article. This is unbelievable. Presidential nominee, whoever that may be, defeating Trump easily. Where are they getting these false polls? It's unbelievable. The Democrats have finally decided to impeach Donald Trump for his many crimes and other misdeeds, including obstruction of justice, abuse of power, including bribery and extortion, as seen in the Ukraine scandal, his rampant corruption and violations of the emoluments clause of the Constitution, and his general betrayal of the presidential oath of office. Trump's overt embrace of white supremacy and racism, his disregard for the rule of law and the Constitution, and his threats of violence against the American news media, leading Democrats and various private citizens are also impeachable offenses. Did he threaten violence to anybody? On a near daily basis, Trump's many political scandals are multiplying like bacteria in a petri dish. He will almost certainly become the first president to run for re-election after having been impeached. For these and many other reasons, Donald Trump should be doomed. But Donald Trump is not a normal political candidate. He is a political version of James Cameron's Terminator or a zombie ghoul from George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. Donald Trump is almost unstoppable. Despite all of the evidence suggesting otherwise, Trump will likely win in 2020. While public opinion polls and other research showed that the American people are turning against Donald Trump at an increasing rate, his support among Republicans and right-leaning independents remains remarkably high. And a new poll from Monmouth University reports that 62% of people who approve of Trump say they will continue supporting him no matter what he does. Donald Trump also has the highest level of baseline support for an American president in the history of modern public opinion polls. An analysis by the research company of such and such shows Donald Trump winning the 2020 presidential election by a comfortable margin. Other polling models echo Moody's prediction. For many voters, the strength of the American economy outweighs Trump's perfidy and authoritarianism. As in 2016, Democrats will be reminded that the United States is not a direct democracy. The president is decided by the Electoral College. There, Donald Trump has plausibly maintained or expanded his lead in key battleground states, which he won in 2016. Okay, so now there's more polls here, but I want to continue this because this is so great. Donald Trump leads a political cult. That's you. You're part of a cult. His members will not abandon him for any reason because they are enmeshed together in a state of collective narcissism and other mental pathologies. Right-wing Christian evangelicals are among Trump's most enthusiastic supporters. According to a recent Public Research Institute report, 99% of Christian evangelicals report that they will never defect from Donald Trump's cult. Okay, now, this is an even greater percentage than overall Republicans, 94% of which oppose the impeachment and removal of Mr. Trump. 99% of Republicans who watch Fox News, a subsection that likely overlaps with white evangelical Protestants. Now, I'm going to keep going here. Okay. Interviews with Trump supporters reveal a public so unflinchingly loyal that any efforts to impeach Trump for high crimes and misdemeanors makes his cultists love him even more. Donald Trump is also very popular among blue-collar, working-class white women, the largest single voting bloc in America. They are Trump's human shields in the impeachment fight. Washington Monthly reports, and then so on. Hang on, wait, I'm almost finished. Why does this group of white women support Donald Trump? White women, like white men, have both historically been deeply invested in white supremacy. Non-college educated white women support, they're calling us stupid. Well, Leah has a college degree. For Trump is also a function of internalized hostile sexism, where his misogyny, dozens of alleged sexual assaults, and efforts to take away women's reproductive rights and freedoms are not viewed as disqualifying and may in fact be understood as reasons to vote for him.
Okay, so what I wanted to point out there,
I'm done.
The very last part, poor women. They said white, working class, not college educated women, poor white women. It is so demeaning and awful. That's the way they put that.
Well,
There's
and then they
poor
also
white
say
trash.
Not just poor white trash, but poor white trash women, white women that look at Donald Trump when they say that he's being sexist or whatever, and like authoritarianism and like I want to be ruled over. That's exactly what they're saying about these women.
Most of these are single women who are just trying to put, food on the table. Working non-college educated white working class women, meaning the women in your small jobs, your receptionists, maybe your McDonald's flippers, the people working at Kroger.
It just made me so angry because I'm thinking to myself, here you guys say that Trump's out there for the wealthy. Then why is it that that it's the poor people that are supporting him that you're just talking about? Now, another thing about this article is, first of all, they go and say, no one loves Trump. No one supports Trump. Everybody is against him. No one is backing and supporting him. And then they go on and say, but he has this massive amount of support. The biggest voting bloc in America. His support is growing by droves. So when you say that no one supports Trump, you're literally just saying that anybody that supports Trump is a nobody. Because if
50% of America.
Nobody would mean not a single person. Like there aren't people. You show up to a Bernie Sanders rally and there's like nobody there, then that makes sense to say nobody. But they are literally demeaning because they can't talk out both sides of their mouth. They can't say he has no support. Everything should say that Trump is doomed. Everybody's against him. Everybody this, that, and the other. And yet his base is growing like crazy. He has more support. He's going to win by a landslide. And then they go and say that democracy is dead because of the Electoral College. I'm done. You shouldn't have left me alone with the show.
Okay, so Rand Paul is talking about the whistleblower.
And they don't name a single crime, says Elaine on Periscope.
See, Yeah, you guys are the most educated people out there. You know what's going on.
The whistleblower laws, though, they protect a whistleblower. You know it's illegal to out a whistleblower.
Actually, you see, you got that wrong, too.
No,
I mean,
we don't.
you should work on the facts. Here's the thing is, the whistleblower statute protects the whistleblower from having his name revealed by the Inspector General. Even the New York Times admits that no one else is under any legal obligation. The other point, and you need to be very careful if you really are interested in the news, is that the whistleblower actually is a material witness completely separate from being the whistleblower because he worked for Joe Biden. He worked for Joe Biden at the same time Hunter Biden was receiving $50,000 a month. So the investigation into the corruption of Hunter Biden involves this whistleblower because he was there at the time. Did he bring up the conflict of interest? Was there discussion of this? What was his involvement with the relationship between Joe Biden and the prosecutor? There's a lot of questions that the whistleblower needs to answer.
The whistleblower.
Rand Paul at the rally had said, we need to interview him. It was this huge, big moment. This is the Carmela guy. Look at this.
Charmela. Remember it for Charlie.
Michelle likes
No, I'm saying it goes back to those text messages where they were calling him Charlie, and that's why.
I get it. So how we have pictures with Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer.
I want to know why this guy was still in there. Like, that's what just gets me. I'm like, Trump, get him out. We've talked about this. We've told you on our show. Hire mega people. Are we going to The View?
No,
Okay.
no. We're not done with we're moving on to the whistleblower. Now I have to find my articles that I have up.
Stuart the Brit says, I love it when the Dems, write and say this stuff. Just shows how much they have to lie, and lies are getting stupider and they get more desperate. Funny times.
Yeah. Okay. So the whistleblower attorney bragged about getting security clearances for guys with child porn issues. This is more from what they did. I don't know if you guys know this, but this quote whistleblower, it's all designed, the Russia hoax fell apart, and now they tried to jump on this Ukrainian hoax. And they scrubbed Charmela's internet history, so we couldn't go back and see what a putz he was. However, they did not scrub the internet history of his lawyer, who has pictures of him going to Disney by himself, who says we're going to do a coup in 2017. And this from Zero Hedge. The more we learn about the apparatus behind the effort to impeach President Donald Trump, questions about the Democrat operative attorney representing a CIA whistleblower at the heart of the inquiry has emerged. This guy right here. On Thursday, it emerged that the attorney, Mike Zad, linked to Clinton, Schumer, and Podesta, Mark,
nothing matters,
tweeted, everything matters. We will get rid of him in reference to President Trump. Followed
How
weeks
does a
later
lawyer get rid of a president?
Coup has started in support of fired attorney acting General Sally Yates, who refused to enforce the executive order banning the admission of refugees to certain countries.
Who is he rubbing shoulders with to be able to
Clinton,
say?
Schumer, and Podesta.
I'm just saying that's the answer. That was a rhetorical question. Who's he rubbing shoulders with to know this whole "we will get rid of him"?
In response to his anti-Trump tweets, Zad said on Friday, "I was referring to a completely lawful process of what President Trump would likely face as a result of stepping over the line, and that particularly whatever would happen would come about as a result of lawyers."
Right.
He is the founder and director of the James Madison Project, which still lists Clinton campaign manager John Podesta as a member of its board.
Wow.
What Zad hasn't addressed is why his alleged YouTube channel liked videos about Disney girls and why he enjoys going to children's theme park alone. Here he is. Who does this? That's an adult by himself. Weird. On Friday, Twitter user pointed out that Zad oddly bragged about helping guys with child porn issues obtain government clearances in response to a February thread about former Trump aide Rob Porter, who was fired following allegations of domestic abuse. Why would whistleblowers' lawyers brag about this? I've gotten clearances for guys who had child porn issues. And while everyone is entitled to legal representation, why would Zad, who allegedly enjoys Disney kids, brag about getting clearances for pedophiles? And people wonder why the Department of Defense has a massive pedophile problem. It truly boggles the mind. Why is this happening?
It's all just too much.
Yeah, so Facebook scrubs all references to the alleged whistleblower Eric Carmela. So Facebook announced on Friday that it would be removing any posts that named this guy, Eric Carmela. We are removing any and all mentions of the potential whistleblower's name and will revisit this decision should their name be widely published in the media or used by public figures in the debate.
You know, wouldn't it have been so nice if they did that for Eric Sandman?
Well, for anybody. Yeah.
The Covington Catholic kid.
Right.
They were totally fine letting everybody dox him and share the heck out of his name.
Yeah. So, Breitbart did not out the alleged whistleblower, but did provide additional relevant reporting about him. He is, after all, a public figure, having served on the National Security Council. His name has been used in the Mueller report and in Ambassador Bill Taylor's testimony, but Breitbart's article about him has been taken down. This is beyond what any of us can really hope to. This is so crazy. It's just... it's just crazy. All right, so let me see.
Oh, we're really bright here.
We are so bright. Happy, go. See if we have any more things on whistleblowing. Leakers, liars.
Stefan says, wow, the Democrats are running scared.
They are. They really are. To make up, to do all this crazy lying and covering up. So CBS sided with the pedophile. Staffer has been fired. So we covered that. All right, I guess we're going on to Donald Trump. Wait, no, I have one more thing about whistleblowing. That's why I want to keep my whistleblowing going in one direction. So, is this old? This is old. Somebody shared this, but I think this is old. There's supposed to be a bunch of leakers coming out from, about the Clintons, but I think that's
from last year.
Yeah, somebody was trying to.
Well, unless somebody put the wrong date on it, that does happen. Instead of November 6th, it'll say December 6th. So it could have been new, but you can look into
here's
it
Donald
further.
Trump. This is from today, November 8th. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. President Trump drops a bombshell, and Communications Director Dan Scavino teases major development. For months, there have been ramblings that the IG, Horowitz, was going to release his report anytime on his investigation of FISA court abuse during 2016-2017. And for months, that news was delayed. In May, Attorney General Bill Barr appointed John Durham to review the origins of the Russian inquiry and the FBI's surveillance activities. Just 2 weeks ago, the Attorney General announced the investigation was now a criminal probe. And we have heard that Durham criminal probe may have been going on for some time. Now, Thursday, President Trump's online communications director, Dan Scavino, posted this ominous tweet, tick-tock. Now, today, President Trump said during his presser, let's just let it, as Hammer said.
All of the things going on, and you know what I mean by that, the fake news, the ponies of the world, all of the bad things that went on, it's called the swamp. And you know what happened? You know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens.
He says, I caught the swamp. I caught them all.
Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. On top of that, we have the best economy, greatest economy we've ever.
So I love the way he frames this, because he knows that suddenly he was kind of like the bait. And all the bad people who are the swamp came after him. Yeah. They all came out of the woodwork, and he says, got ya.
Like piranhas.
I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. No one could have done it but me.
It's so great. It's so true. I really, President Trump does need our prayers, because what they are doing is so evil and it is so wrong. Mm-hmm. But I also want to bring peace and good news, because God knows exactly what he's doing. And I think that Trump knows what he's doing as well. And I don't hear fear in Trump's voice. I hear frustration a lot of times, but not fear that they're actually going to win or really be able to do anything of substance. Actually, I had messaged Horatio back, and I said, because he said it was so entertaining and to read that article and stuff. And I was like, that's not my reaction, because I actually live here. And it's infuriating to me, But I said, I'm actually not afraid. The article is correct. Trump is going to win by a landslide. They aren't wrong on that. But what does actually concern me is their desperation and use of voter fraud. Because what happened to Matt Bevin in Kentucky and what has happened in the past, why did Hillary Clinton have those extra 3 million popular votes? Probably because of voter fraud. They thought that it was going to be enough for her to win. They went after just people instead of the popular, they went after people in the popular vote instead of using their voter fraud to do these battleground state, the way our electoral college works. I think that they're going to have gotten smarter this time. And I think that the reason why they're coming out with this impeachment process is because they are hoping that they're going to be able to use their election fraud well enough this time that when Trump loses, if he were to lose, they would be able to come out later and say, well, it's just because we impeached him. And so it would be less suspicious if they hadn't done Trump is not going to lose, but there could be key states for the House and the Senate.
So Matt Bevins is governor of Kentucky. He supposedly lost his election bid by 5,000 votes. Ridiculous. Now, he's calling for, I believe, a recount, but Millie Weaver had just tweeted out tonight, I'm trying to find it, that there were, I think, 175,000 people added to the voting rolls without their permission to Kentucky at the last minute. She says, if you've ever been a Kentucky resident, please check your registration status. Others are discovering they've been put back on voter rolls as registered Democrat. Says election fraud is real. Let's see, where else did she tweeted this out. Breaking, voter fraud confirmed in Kentucky. Electoral office confirms 175,000 voters were added back to the voter rolls in 2018.
So what does that exactly mean? They were added to the voter rolls.
They're just put on the voter rolls so that then somebody could come in and say,
so somebody could come in and say, I am this person. Mm-hmm. And like maybe people that had taken themselves off of being registered to vote.
Right. Yeah.
That's exactly. A lot of people. That's a ton of people.
Yeah. So a recently released recorded phone call between Kentucky Board of Elections office and a journalist named Tor shows that Tor and her immigrant husband, who is ineligible to vote, were placed on the Kentucky voter rolls as registered Democrats. The only problem is Tor and her husband haven't lived in the state of Kentucky for years, and both of them have never registered as Democrats. Tor was concerned about her husband's immigration status and how the apparent election fraud could impact his ability to remain in the United States.
Wow.
So that is something to be thinking about. That is the thing that scares me the most. I do believe that Donald Trump was actually elected by a larger margin than what is
I think he won the popular vote.
But they thought they had padded enough with the fake votes in all the different states. And I believe that they are working very hard to pad different states.
Well, and that's why they're also putting all these new electronic machines. Mm-hmm. Matt Bevin lost in a state where they had just redone all of their machines to electronic voting.
Right. Yeah. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right. So now we're going to move on to this story that just kind of shocked us all. In Mexico, there's a Mormon community living in northern Mexico. And moms, I believe 3 moms and a bunch of kids were traveling. They were ambushed by the Mexican cartel. Gunned down, car set on fire. Wow, babies were shot. And the mainstream media seems awfully silent on the fact that the cartels are running Mexico, and to say that everyone coming in and out of Mexico is this good, wonderful person seeking a new life in America. Now, smuggling people and human trafficking is a huge, big business. And there are different... You think the cartel is just one big thing? There are different cartels. There are different Mexican gangs. And they fight over the routes, getting people into America. And Mexico has stepped up, from what I understand.
Here's this. I didn't get a chance to share that with you.
Okay.
The actual article, so you would know I wasn't wrong.
Right. We'll get to that. Contrary to our expectations, the slaying of 9 members of a Mormon community living in northern Mexico at the hands of Mexican cartel gunmen seems to have already dropped out of the news cycle, but not here. Perhaps because it's already become clear that neither the U.S. nor Mexico is planning to hold the attackers accountable. Senior Mexican security officials who are obviously worried about more bad press insist the attack was a case of mistaken identity. But keep in mind, because they mistakenly shot babies in the back of the head.
Well, and apparently one of the moms actually got out of the car and walked waving her hands to be like, hey, because this community, it's very interesting from what I've learned in the different things that I've watched. Everybody knows everybody, and even these cartel people know these women as part of the Mormon community. And so if she is walking outside of her car, that's why she was brave enough to do it. To be like, wait. This is the wrong... We're not part of whatever you've got mixed up here, okay? Because everybody knows everybody. Even the cartel know the Mormons. It's very strange.
But keep in mind, these are the people who initially told the world, and that federal police just happened to stumble upon the son of El Chapo, and they let him go. So, Security Minister Alfonso Durazo, whose name has been in the press frequently in the aftermath of the attack, said earlier this week that the gunmen may have attacked the women because they suspected they were members of a rival gang. A baby. Really? Little white babies? And intense turf wars, right? In this incident, however, there could be serious consequences to believing the wrong thing. There are many other American Mexican Mormons living in the area, part of a community that has been growing in the area since the 1940s, and apparently almost none of them believe the government's theory that the attack was an accident. Loretta Miller, 53, mother-in-law of the victim Ronita Miller, says it was no accident, it was deliberate. She is the grandmother of 4 dead children. We just don't know why our family was targeted. The victims who were buried on Thursday include 3 women, 6 children, some newborn babies. They were traveling in a caravan of 3 vans when the suspected cartel gunmen rained down a hail of gunfire. 8 other children survived the attack. This is absolutely crazy. There's a teenage boy, 13 I think. He walked 15 miles with wounded children to get to help. Hundreds of community members attended the service for one of the murdered mothers and her 2 young sons on Thursday, forming a long line at the funeral parlor in the mountains of Mexico's Sonora state. The eulogies for Donna Ray Langford caused many in the audience to tear up. And many hugged each other tightly. Sons, a daughter, her parents, and other relatives. Many tears eulogized Miss Langford, who had 13 children and 2 grandchildren. She never once made a selfish decision. It was always for her kids and her family. She was a fighter. This community, like Michelle said, had lived peacefully alongside the cartel for years, passing through cartel checkpoints. That has become a fact of life for many. But some of the children who survived the massacre described how Christiana Marie Langford, one of the 3 mothers killed, jumped out of the car with her hands up but was shot down anyway. Whatever happened that day, those people, the community is thinking about moving back, and I could see definitely
sure.
why.
Now, let me throw this little wrench in here, just to
go ahead, yeah,
because it's kind of important. So I'm going to go to this article here by the New York Post. So that mother that Leah mentioned that says she doesn't buy that this was just an accident is the mother of this victim right here, Ronita Miller. And she actually has, it's a vague tie to the Nextvim sex cult thing or whatever. So let me just read this. It's really short. Let's see. Let me get to the part. The 3 moms had 6 kids, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so the filmmaker working with Rainier at the time, this is Rainier, this guy right here, okay, of the Nextvim whatever. Mark Vicente told the online magazine Slate that the documentary ultimately became a recruiting video for the Nextvim, which purported to be a self-help group, but morphed into what the feds called a cult that sexually, physically, and emotionally abused its mainly female followers.
So I think what you want to read here is this one. This one, it says, keep going. It says that the outpost of...
Oh, yeah. The Mormon community in Mexico is where underlings of the Nextvom leader, Keith Rainier, recruited young women to work as nannies in an upstate New York compound run by the accused cult, suggesting at least in part that the jobs would get the girls away from their home region's drug violence, according to a man hired by Rainier to produce a documentary about the group. Now, at the bottom, where it's the only link that she has here, but it is kind of a link, says that the film included an interview with Julian LeBron, who identified himself as the cousin of one of the moms killed, and that was the Miller lady, and who is a leader of the Mexico Mormon community. LeBron's brother was kidnapped by a local drug cartel in 2009, and the family defiantly refused to pay a ransom. The cartel eventually released the abducted man. So when the family says it was a hit, they've dealt with these people before. They have had dealings with them, and the fact that this Nextvom cult has gone down there to recruit young ladies to this Mormon community is very, very disturbing.
So here are the names of the victims: Donna Ray Langford, Maria Ronita Miller, Christopher Langford Johnson, and then these poor babies. But I do want to say a hero 13-year-old boy hid his siblings in the bushes during Cartel massacre and walked 14 miles to get help.
Some of his siblings were injured. They had been shot, and he hid them away.
The horrific murders of 9 members of an American family in Mexico prompted outrage in Washington and calls by President Donald Trump for Mexico to wage war on drug cartels. Cell phone footage of a charred and bullet-riddled car purports to show the scene where 3 adults and 6 children, members of the LeBaron family, were attacked by unknown gunmen Monday. An unidentified voice chokes up at the tragedy.
This is for the record. Nita and 4 of my grandchildren are burnt and shot up.
Reuters could not independently verify the video. On Tuesday, President Donald Trump tweeted, "A wonderful family and friends from Utah got caught between 2 vicious drug cartels who were shooting at each other, with the result being many great American people killed, including young children and some missing." Trump also wrote, "This is the time for Mexico, with the help of the United States, to wage war on the drug cartels and wipe them off the face of the earth." Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador on Tuesday said he grieved for the victims.
I send an embrace of condolence to the whole LeBaron family, to the family members of the victims. This is a terrible tragedy because children and innocents lost their lives.
López Obrador also thanked Trump for his support, but said he didn't think Mexico needed foreign intervention at this time.
It's a great tragedy.
Republican Senator Mitt Romney of Utah expressed his concerns about the attack.
I agree with the president when he says Mexico has to really knuckle down and go after some of these cartels and stop this escalating level of violence, and hope that if there's a way we can help in that effort, that we're called upon to do so.
Romney is a member of the Mormon faith. The victims in Mexico were members of a breakaway Mormon group that settled in Mexico's Chihuahua state in the 1920s. A family relative called the incident a massacre and said some family members were burned alive, telling Reuters he did not know why they were attacked, but the group had had run-ins with the drug cartels before. For more than a decade, Mexico has deployed its military to combat organized crime. The result has been less than successful. Killings by the cartels have
less than successful.
So Patriot Gallery had talked about this the other day on one of the episodes that she did, and she even put in the chat here, she says, "Look at the car, directed energy weapon besides the bullet holes, not a natural car fire. I say it was a false flag to start a war." Now, when we use the word false flag, we don't mean it didn't happen. It totally happened. These people died. Who is behind it? Who is the ultimate reasoning behind it? The reason she kind of came up with this theory is that the next day, Ivanka Trump and who else was it, had come out, what's Trump's other guy, kind of saying we need to wage war on sex trafficking and so forth. And regardless of, and like she says, false flags are always about, like, what about the children? What about the children? They always want to talk about kids when they talk about false flags. And so obviously it was a hit. Who was behind the hit? Right. And is Trump just pouncing on this as an opportunity? Right. Probably. But I think there's obviously something way more nefarious going on underneath of it.
But I like this is really important. This and then let's get this Daily Mail ad out of the way. One of the the bride-to-be whose family was killed and massacred days before her wedding advocates for carrying weapons because she says defenseless Mexicans can't fight back against the cartels.
Wow.
A relative of the Mormon family slaughtered in Mexico just days before her wedding has advocated for carrying guns because she says defenseless Mexicans can't fight back against the cartel gunmen. Kendra Miller, whose sister-in-law was among the 9 LeBaron family members gunned down in the Sonora state on Monday, claims her family was specifically targeted to wage a war between rival cartels. Speaking from her home in La Mora, where she's due to get married next week, Miller told CNN that her family constantly faced threats from the cartels. Miller brought up the issue of gun control and urged Americans to fight against any bans on weapons. I don't know where you are standing on the whole idea of trying to take away the guns in America right now, but I say fight for those guns.
Wow.
These things are happening here in Mexico because people can't protect themselves because by law they aren't allowed to own guns. So since the government isn't doing their job in protection in the way that they should, these cartels can just wreak havoc and the people are left to defend themselves. I say hold on to your guns, people.
Wow.
Hold on to your guns. She said the issue of safety doesn't just affect her family and is part of a countrywide problem. What's happening here is the Mexican people are becoming oppressed. They're being abused by these cartels, living in fear for their lives. We can't drive public roads safely. We're being threatened that we can't even take some of the public roads or else we'll have bad things happen to us. So many people are not protected the way they should be. She said her family was distraught over the loss of lives that they have now. That they are now planning multiple funerals. She added that Mexican authorities had offered guarded protection for relatives planning on to attend the funerals. Whoa, just to the funeral. Thank you. You know, this is just absolutely crazy. It's horrible, and yeah, it's a tragedy that doesn't need to happen. I think that when we look at things and we think to ourselves, hey, there are tragedies that are accidents, and then there are tragedies that are totally and completely preventable. The Mexican cartel, we all know, has been running Mexico for years, and nobody is doing anything about it.
But we don't have to actually do anything about the reason why these cartels are able to exist is because we, by allowing them to funnel all their drugs up into America, are funding them. We're literally like pouring gasoline on the cartel fire. Right. So we, as all of America, are culpable in them even being in existence and being able to torment. So the Mexican president was like, we don't need intervention. Well, guess what?
So, yeah.
We need to stop it at the border. And if we quash it here and they can't funnel their drugs and their guns and their sex trafficking over the border, it'll dry up.
Right.
They'll be forced to get real jobs. Go farming again.
When Donald Trump talks about this is where the Democrats are just like, they know what's happening. They know that illegal people are coming into America. And everybody's like, oh, but Donald Trump just calls all Mexicans rapists. No, but guess what? These cartels are bringing the people in. You think the cartels are like saying, oh, let's bring in the best people? No. Remember last month when the cartel paramilitary force faced down Mexico's own army, and they shook hands afterwards after El Chapo's son was captured? The Sinaloa cartel declared war and demanded his release. 4 hours after his arrest, government forces surrendered, and the president nonetheless declared afterward that his administration was doing really well with our strategy to counter cartel influence. He's part of the cartel, okay? I guarantee you he's part of the cartel.
Well, Bill Burnett sent me an email while we were going live and said, God bless you, your coverage for the Mormon massacre in Mexico. It's curious why their government doesn't want our help. Can you spell corrupt? God bless you for keeping it alive.
Yeah, so since 2007, nearly 250,000 people have been murdered in Mexico. In 2018 alone, that number exceeded 33,000 people. Assassinations of government officials hit a record high. And none of this is happening in a vacuum, which is why the failure of the Mexican government to deal with the narco violence, as Michelle's talking about, the drug violence, the international drug trade that fuels it, is our national security. American deaths from overdoses or synthetic opioids like fentanyl have skyrocketed over the last decade, and that's how these cartels, they're fighting because there's money in it. Although the initial injection of fentanyl into the U.S. bloodstream came from China, officials now say the majority of lab-created opioids smuggled into America come through Mexico. The result has been an overdose epidemic that has destroyed lives, abandoned small communities, and left countless individuals hopelessly addicted to a drug 50 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine. In short, the collapse of Mexico doesn't just endanger its own people. It also threatens the sovereignty and security of the U.S., as the violence, addiction, and economic woes caused by the cartels refuse to remain within the borders of Latin America. So I want to get the 13-year-old
the
Mormon
brother
hero, because this is so amazing. And let's see, where can we get? Let's try it. Oh, well, it's CNN, but I will. A 13-year-old boy walked for 6 hours to get help after the Mormon families were attacked after his mother was shot in an ambush near the Mexico border. A 13-year-old boy hid his siblings and walked about 6 hours to get help. Devin Blake Lamford hid 6 of his siblings in bushes and covered them with branches to keep them safe while he sought for help. Said Kendra Lee Miller in a Facebook post. The boy's mother, Donna Ray Langford, was driving, and she was part of the ambush. And the fact that he was able to think that fast, save all these other kids, is just amazing. After seeing his mother and 2 brothers die, Devin walked 14 miles.
Ever hear about the time Big Jim went kid?
To Lamora and relayed the first news anyone had ever heard of the attack. Devin's uncles armed themselves with guns and returned to try and find the hidden children, knowing many of them were injured. They didn't get far before realizing they would be risking death, since there had been continual shooting for hours all over the mountains near Lamora. 5 of the 6 children that Devin hid were taken to a local hospital, later flown to the United States. The 6th child, Devin's 9-year-old sister, went missing after she left in a second attempt to get help.
Britt Boz says, Michelle, the drug and people trafficking cartels in the world are working with the world's leftist governments in the EU. That is why it's all happening, and the governments aren't stopping it.
Yeah. So, obviously, say a prayer for the victims, say a prayer for their families, but let's this is needless, it's senseless. You know, I could go on and on and on about how the left is making this happen, how they're fueling it, how they're part of it, but we want to talk about solutions, so we don't want to spend too much. You guys get it. You understand. We talk about this all the time. The left is calling for they're like open borders, immigrants are great, blah 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 blah. And guess what? Most Mexicans are under the totalitarian influence of the cartel members, but there's no way for us to say who came here illegally, who is good or bad. That's why you have to go through immigration, so we can check you first, because you could be the person fighting the cartel, or you could be the cartel itself.
Right.
We don't know, and that's when Trump says, hey, you got these bad dudes, you got MS-13, you got rapists coming over, you have people coming over, and then the left says, oh, well, you have people coming over and they're fleeing violence, and we're just like, hello, yes, you do. That's why we need to make sure who's coming in here. We don't want them to be followed by the bad guys that they're trying to flee. We're on the side of innocent people.
Don't you think that the cartels down there and the government down there kind of view these people as a Trojan horse? The people that are fleeing, they're like, let's send all the weak. Let's make it so bad that our people don't want to be here, so that they go to America, so that we can send our bad guys over as a Trojan horse. I mean, it's all a Trojan horse. So what else have you got? Are we going to Don Jr. on The View? I'm not sure I can stand it.
So I can only play little pieces of this. I cannot play the whole thing. My stomach turns.
Mine too.
He came out with a book. He was supposed to discuss the book. But it was
now Don Jr. came out and said that he felt this was one of his best interviews ever.
He enjoyed it, I think, because he enjoys fighting.
I don't like conflict.
Yeah,
it's hard.
But there were in the front row, from what I understand, mega people and supporters, which they're not normally the audience of The View. At one point,
I wonder if it was a caveat to
Joy
him going
Behar
on the
had
show.
to say, they love applause for themselves. They never tell people to stop applauding for them. But they told them to stop applauding for Don Jr. It's so... And she said I
haven't seen this yet.
Okay, so here The View host accused Donald Trump Jr. of leaking the whistleblower's name.
You did something that triggered a lot of people yesterday, including myself, by releasing the name of the whistleblower whose complaint has now led to impeachment hearings. The whole point of releasing a name is to intimidate someone, to threaten someone, and to scare other people from coming out. That's something that dictators do. I've lived in China. I've seen that firsthand. That's not what America does. That's not who we do. We stand by our people. Why did you want to release the name?
Abby, I think the reality of the answer is the whistleblower's name was on a little website called The Drudge Report.
a couple of days ago. It was in Real Clear Politics. I literally quote tweeted an article that had the guy's name in the title of the article. So that whole thing is nonsense. But I wish the outrage would be equal. I mean, there was no outrage when, my family got an exploding letter of, with white powder substance in it. They're protecting a guy, in the CIA, and there's great outrage, but when your family gets something, it's there. And that's a big part of the book, which is, it's not a level playing field in terms of outrage. We do live in an outrage culture.
He asked to be anonymous. Your family did not. There's a difference.
But it was literally millions of people, and for days he's been out there in the media.
But does that make it right?
So what's the difference between me tweeting about it?
It's different when the president's son does it, though, isn't it?
Why? I mean, I'm a private citizen putting this out there. If everyone in this room could have read this, I don't see any difference whatsoever. The reality is, it seems to me, and again, my point of view on this, it seems to me that everyone is outraged that his name is out there because now people are saying, okay, he's tied to Joe Biden while Joe Biden was working in the White House. He has ties to Brennan, who's been leading the cabal on Trump. It's not, let's be honest about what it is.
Let's be honest about what it is.
It's so painful for me. I mean,
yeah. So Donald Trump Jr. there rightfully called out Hunter Biden, saying, this guy is supposedly working with Joe Biden. All of it is Joe Biden's people and Obama's people left over still trying to fight Trump from the White House. That's what this is all about.
Right.
Donald Trump Jr. then called out Hunter Biden, saying the former VP's son utilized his father's vice presidency to magically end up on a board in Ukraine. So we're going to play that here.
Okay.
I've benefited from that as Hunter Biden has. The difference is we did that as a private company. When we got into international politics, the second my father won the presidency, he said, we will not do new foreign deals going forward. Hunter Biden utilized his father's vice presidency to magically end up on a board in Ukraine with a language he doesn't speak, on a business he knows nothing about, for $83,000 a month. If I did that, you guys would lose your minds. Understandably, and you'd be right.
Can I push back on that a little bit?
So we stopped.
Can I push back a little bit? Because the D.C. hotel, your father's D.C. hotel, opened up just a couple of weeks after his election.
I'm glad you asked.
And you've actually made, I think, according to your father's financial report, he earned about $40.8 million, just a minute, from his D.C. hotel in 2018. The Attorney General is going to hold a $30,000 holiday party at the D.C. hotel. A lobbying firm with ties to the Saudi government paid $270,000 to the hotel between October 2016 and March 2017.
There's
well, listen, let me
he's president. He knows how to make a buck.
These are the details.
The bottom line is you have made money.
But let me finish. These are the details that the media always neglects. Yes, we're in the hotel business. We have been for decades. That's not a secret. When we take money from a foreign entity, in D.C., most of it's foreign entities, right? The government-related foreign entities, when they come, we literally stroke a check back to the U.S. Treasury. We spend more money on accountants than we can make from this to make sure we're doing that right, because we can't do that. My father gives back his entire salary to the U.S. Treasury to be put towards causes, whether it was alcoholism, whether it was the Department of Interior. So we're literally not making money from any of those foreign governments. We're giving it back to the Treasury. And by the way, there's an opportunity.
Making money from the hotel based on the presidency.
We're in the hotel business. There's nothing to, we're giving back.
That's what we've done. They have a duty and obligation to honor their business contracts.
We didn't become international businessmen magically.
We didn't become international businessmen magically.
And that's such a good point.
So then he calls out, they want to say that Access Hollywood and how Donald Trump is not a moral person. And then he calls out Joy Behar for wearing blackface, which she did actually dress as a beautiful black woman. And Whoopi says it's not real blackface. Now, I can see the difference. They do say that blackface is when you do the shoe polish and the big white mouth. However, by their standards...
Exactly.
By their standards, if you dress up, it's cultural appropriation. If you dress up as a beautiful black woman, by their standards, you are doing something wrong.
Across the border, and that's a fact. Look at what's going on at the border.
Let her finish. Called some Mexicans rapists. He attacked the handicapped. He bragged about.
Some Mexicans are rapists.
Listen, we heard the access. Hold on. We heard the accessed tape where he bragged about grabbing women by their genitalia.
She's talking about, that's what Megyn is talking about. She's talking about lowering the discourse to his level, which is horrible for this country. Even if people are working, we don't want to have a country like that. Do you understand that?
We've all done things.
That's what I'm saying. You are the disgusting person. We don't want a country like you.
We regret. I mean, if we're talking about bringing the discourse down, Joy, you've worn blackface. Whoopi,
No,
you
I
said
haven't.
that Roman Polanski.
I'm sorry, and don't. If you
said
do
that
it,
Roman Polanski, it wasn't rape when he raped a child. So let's talk about
so let's
things.
talk
Come on,
about this.
that's
So
not
you
fair.
want to bring this up? The question came up.
I did not go
about
in blackface, please.
No, she was not in blackface.
Thank you.
Sorry, listen. Being black, I recognize blackface. This I can say. Okay, I know it when I see it.
Back me up on that.
So now that you've broken this piece of ice, because I guess this is the fight you wanted.
It's not the fight.
They've already been attacking him the entire time, and and your dad did this, and your did this, and so then when he calls out them, well, oh my gosh, how dare you come after me?
Right. But if we're talking about character, if we're talking about these
things... Are you questioning my character?
I'm not questioning your character. I'm talking about you're questioning my father's character.
I'm
and
not,
I say,
I'm
we
sorry,
all have done
I didn't question anybody. I simply said that when you're talking about that your father's taken more heat than anybody else, that it's not so. Instead,
as a president?
Yes, as a president. Yes.
Ridiculous.
He's getting crushed.
I think the Central Park 5 took a lot more heat than your father has taken at his hand.
Name a president who's taken more heat than my
Everybody
father.
stop. Hold up.
President Trump.
We'll be right back.
Wow.
This was like, it's
It's painful to watch. It's so painful.
So here is Ted Danson, okay, who was Whoopi Goldberg's boyfriend at the time. That is blackface. That is total ugly blackface, and she's thinking that that's funny. Donald Trump Jr. Drew applause many times, and Joy Behar says, this is
When we talk about transparency, the President of the United States released the transcript of exactly what happened in that phone call. The whistleblower is giving his opinion or her opinion of what transpired.
I'd like to talk about that.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'd like to talk about that.
That's out there to say. He's not trying to hide anything. Thank God he transcribed it.
I'd like to talk about that. Actually, let me ask you, do you regret retweeting that?
I don't think I should have to forego my First Amendment rights. I didn't want to create hysteria, but if I'm reading an article, be like, oh, the name's out there. I didn't even realize that this thing's some sort of big sort of secret.
You don't regret doing that?
I don't regret doing it. No, I don't think I should have to forego my First Amendment rights. It's out there. I read it in an article. I've been reading it for a week. I saw it on the Drudge Report. Like, this is not some secret, but to then say, because it's Donald Trump Jr., because he's an outspoken guy, to then create... Why was there no outrage when Drudge Report, which is a major website, probably the largest aggregator of media news in America, he puts it out there a few days ago, and no, crickets. No problem with that.
Because
Come on, guys.
probably not a lot of people knew that it was out there. But once you put it out...
on Drudge. Millions of people see Drudge a day.
I'm saying to you, listen, man, I don't know how many people here read the Drudge Report. I don't know. But I'm saying a lot more people know your name than know the Drudge Report. You're assuming... I know it's a fair point.
Let's move on. I want to talk about the memo of the call, because I don't believe it.
Okay.
Wow.
So
it's just
intense.
awful. Do we have to watch more of it? It's like painful. It's like you can't look away, but it's hurting you to watch.
Yeah, we can be done.
It's so bad.
We can be done.
I wasn't even looking at any of our own personal comments here while that was going because it was just too much.
So here's Joy Behar in her little blackface, where she says she did wear darker makeup to dress up as a beautiful African woman.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so that is a thing. So let's see. I wonder if
I need a sick bag, says Stephen Ainsworth. I am with you. Gonzalo says Trump Jr. needs to run for POTUS in 2024. I really hope that he does. Absolutely. I think he could do really well. The Pooh Show, says Stefan. Donna says, how can you be a view when everyone is wearing blinders?
Yeah. Well, I want to go on to some good news.
Good news.
A second.
Here's the good news.
So back in September, this guy issued a mega challenge and make a rap and then tag Bryson Gray in it. Now, Donald Trump just tweeted out today.
No, he didn't.
I will be announcing the winners of the Mega Challenge and inviting them to the White House to meet me and perform. So good luck.
Call me what you want, cause that don't matter, boy. I just speak the truth, that's something they don't understand. Why the white niggas trying to tell me who I am? Don't put me in groups, cause I'm my own man. I said I wasn't Democrat and lost a few friends. Radio stop playing me, I lost a few fans. But tell me I'm a victim, put the power in my hands. I am not a victim, I am not oppressed. They keep taking shots, so I might just buy a vest. They said I want my MAGA hat, I told them say less. I bought the biggest MAGA hat, I did it just to flex. Wear it every day just to make them boys upset. I can be controlled by nobody or a check. They call me a coon.
So he's not a winner, but this is one that
he's the guy who started it.
Oh, he started it, and so there are other people. There's no more videos.
MAGA challenge. There's lots you can.
Oh wow, that's really.
So
fun.
yeah, this is Anomaly put up his. This is my.
Hey, that's ain't you that MAGA boy. Call me what you want, cause that don't matter, boy.
Okay.
Anomaly has his kids sing along.
No, he doesn't.
I will. I like Trump. I don't really give a what. All y'all bluff. I'm too real to play it safe. You fake it front. I'm the plug. Y'all just follow like some sheep. Do what they want. I don't jump. I'm just saying how I feel like Donald Trump. I like Trump. I like Trump. I don't really give a what. All y'all bluff. I'm too real to play it safe. You fake it front. I'm the plug. Y'all just follow like some sheep. Do what they want. I don't jump. I'm just saying how I feel like Donald Trump. I like Trump. I be blunt and real. I do what I feel. Make 100 mil, then a couple bills. Beat the system while
it's like a long rap. It's not even like a little like.
No, he made a real legit music video. Anomaly did. He took out. There's an F word in there, so he made it friendly for this one.
Okay.
But yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is killing me.
Yeah, so that was some
great.
Fun news there.
I can't wait.
And so now we're going to go on to the current Democrat lineup here.
Oh boy.
And we have Elizabeth Warren, who has released the numbers for her Medicare for All. Newsflash, he can't pay for it. There's no paying for Medicare for All. The numbers don't add up.
We're going to use the modern monetary theory.
Even her other... Well, she wants to... she's just checking every... It's what the Bolsheviks do. It's what the cartel does. Is what every communist does. Is they see rich people and they say, we're going to take your money. Taxes is one thing. But Elizabeth Warren wants a 2% tax, I think, on like $40 million or whatever. She wants to go into people's bank accounts.
Right.
Now, we all know it's fake money.
Sure.
But the idea of, if I didn't think that was fake money, and I thought it was gold and silver, the idea that somebody could come in and just go into my bank account and just say, you have too much, I'm going to take it, that's communism.
It is.
That's like literal communism. Okay, and that's what Bernie Sanders wants to do too. So now we have Michael Bloomberg entering into the race because it's supposed to be like some sort of savior and a centrist. Well, this is going to make the base that's driving the Democrat Party are the progressives. They don't want this guy, okay, because he's against them. But he has entered into the race. He was mayor of New York City, and it says here's what is generally misunderstood about Michael Bloomberg's mayoral career in New York City. He did not so much manage or personally direct the fabulous post 9/11 revival of Manhattan and Brooklyn, the renovation of all those sleazy neighborhoods, and construction orgy of so many gleaming new apartment towers and wondrous buff up old. They kind of got big actually. Was not really over. He presided over the financialization of the economy, run for those elite areas in Wall Street, to the prestigious advantage of old Gotham, as all the assets stripped from the industrial USA. I don't even know. This is too much words for me. I just wanted to let you know he had entered the race.
Now, they've been asking for him to enter the race for a while, though.
I think that Judge Jeanine. No, the other Judge Jeanine. Okay. The one on, the little courtroom with the black and the skinny little lady.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one wanted him to run, and I think Oprah tried to get him to run.
Judge Judy.
Thank you, Judge Judy. That's right, Judge Judy. All right, not just billionaires, now Democrats want to hit millionaires with a 10% surtax. with 2020 Democrat candidates Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders threatening to separate billionaires from their money. 2 other Democrats have proposed tax hikes that would hit the wealthy with a 10% surtax on income of above $2 million. Introduced by Maryland Democrat Senator Chris Van Hollen and Representative Don Byen of Virginia, the new plan would raise the effective top rate on wages to 47%, while capital gains would be taxed at 33%. The proposal could raise $635 billion over 10 years, they said. Supposed to be to ensure the wealthy are doing their part to invest in strengthening America's future for everyone. But what I wanted to get to you was a video here with Bernie Sanders. So Bill Gates came out and says, well, I pay a lot. I already pay a lot. I'm going to end up paying like $100 billion in tax. So Bernie Sanders says, say Bill Gates was actually taxed at $100 billion. We could end homelessness. We could provide safe drinking water to everyone in this country. Bill would still be a multi-billionaire. Our message, the billionaire class cannot have it all when so many have so little. This is communism. This is what they did in Russia to the czars, but they're trying to do it like the legal way.
It's unbelievable.
So what Bill Gates said was, I've paid over $10 billion in taxes. I've paid more than anyone in taxes. If I have to pay $20 billion, it's fine. But when you say I should pay $100 billion, then I'm starting to do a little math and I'm wondering how much is left over. Bill Gates on whether he'd meet with Elizabeth Warren, he says, I'm not sure how open-minded she is. And Elizabeth Warren said, yeah, I want to meet. Let's talk. Bernie Sanders says,
this is embarrassing.
Bernie Sanders says, this journalist Cara Corte last month asked Bernie Sanders if his wealth tax could potentially diminish charitable spending. And he literally says, when you take other people's money and distribute it, you do not need charity anymore. This is insane.
You have this list of anti-endorsements that you rolled out earlier this summer. A lot of the people on there, extremely wealthy, or they're also extremely charitable and philanthropists. Are you concerned at all that with your wealth tax and other things you want to change fundamentally about America, the American economy, are you concerned at all that it may zap initiative and maybe even charitable initiatives?
No, I am not at all concerned about that. What our job is as a government is to make sure that all of our people in the wealthiest country in the history of the world have the basic needs satisfied. That means healthcare is a human right, education is a human right, housing is a human right, healthcare, and these are human rights. And as president, I will fight to make sure that that happens. And when you do that, by the way, when you raise wages to a living wage, when you end homelessness in America, when you end hunger in America, as we must do, poor people are not going to need charity. They're going to have dignity. They're going to have jobs. They're going to have education. That's the direction we have to go in.
I'm going to let you talk about that.
Okay, so here is the actual truth to the facts. What has already happened? We already have the proof and the facts that this has already happened. The more money that they take from the average American citizen, the more it does lower charitable giving, and the less giving people become. Now, these funds don't actually get disseminated properly.
Wait, not my thought. There is something that happens that the government cannot do when you give to somebody that can't be quantified.
It's the Holy Spirit.
You bring health to somebody.
You know how they say
you bring healing to somebody,
but you bring healing to yourself.
You're going to say exactly the same line. That is, it's what?
Better to give than it is to receive.
It makes you feel good as a human being.
And so what it does when they take away the human being's ability to be giving, their souls start to crest over and die, and we become, and that's why all of these. Because
are there no workhouses? Are there no poorhouses?
Then you become this like. You have to protect your stuff. Don't take my stuff. So of course I can't give it.
The government already does that.
The government already does that. Like, no, I'm not taking. So
in a different line, my dad paid child support.
I was gonna go there. Yeah.
Okay. It wasn't enough to cover everything.
Right.
But you know what my dad would say when we would ask him for something like
a new pair of shoes
or clothes or something? That's what I give your mother child support for. It made his soul. But my dad was such that he didn't want to give her take care of us at all.
Right.
So
he didn't even want me born. He didn't want you born.
No. And so that's a different thing. But that's you literally have the Scrooge mentality, and Scrooge in the Christmas Carol comes to know Jesus, comes to know life.
Right.
His life gets better when he starts to give. When he starts to care. He's talking about the poor people have basic necessities. Well, guess what? People want to thrive. Okay? And nobody wants to be given stuff. Oh, let's raise their wages to a living wage. This is
now
all...
he said the word dignity.
Dignity
and
is
I just
a good
interrupted
word.
you. But he was like, people need to have their dignity. Well, actually, Bernie, when you make America a place where you can self-reward, society itself rewards you by giving unto you via business and giving you business and stuff like that when you are an entrepreneur and so forth, that gives a man dignity. It gives a man dignity to fish for his own fish than to be given a fish. I mean, it used to be, and that's why every old Western, I don't take charity, our family doesn't take charity, because there was something...
Much less from the government.
There was something about being a man to be able to provide for your family and to provide for yourself, and they take that away. So not only are they taking away the dignity of so many Americans, they're degrading citizens. They're keeping them in this mindset of you are a lesser person. So it's actually the complete opposite of what he just said.
So
it's degrading to have to go to the store with food stamps or to live in government housing.
Let me tell you a little secret. I've been holding back, and I still am going to hold back.
Okay.
On the Bernie Sanders bashing, and on the Elizabeth Warren bashing, and the socialist bashing. We're going to bring you snippets of it.
Why?
But we're a year away.
Okay.
Hot. And I need to hold the ammo, because if it all plays out in the beginning, we need to hold it, because we can totally crush
We're going to crush them.
And socialist agenda with the power of God. Okay, if I go out too early with it, and if I think a lot of people are just like, they know you don't play your cards yet. Don't go completely after Bernie Sanders yet. You want him to be the nominee.
Let them
seriously, or somebody like the progressive wing. So I'm going to let you guys just kind of mule on that for a little bit. But Democrats say, heck yes, we'll use a quid pro quo. So I'm going to play
my solution is to say to Israel, is you got $3.8 billion every single year. All right? If you want military aid, you're going to have to fundamentally change your relationship to the people of God.
Did you just hear the quid pro quo?
I heard the quid pro quo.
If you want military aid, you're going to have to do this.
And so this is not just rejoining the Paris Climate Accords, which I will do right away. It's actually using every lever of foreign policy we have, from our foreign aid to countries making a contingent on climate action.
You would not necessarily want to leverage U.S. aid to Israel to push him to do that, is what you're saying.
Well, that would not be my first move. I'm not saying that would never happen.
We need to make sure that any such cooperation and funding is going to things that are compatible with U.S. objectives and with U.S. law.
We spend a few $1 billion on aid to Israel. Would you ever consider using that aid as leverage to get the Israeli government to act differently?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Question about Israel. Will you make American aid conditional on a freeze to settlement building?
It is the official policy of the United States of America to support a two-state solution. And if Israel is moving in the opposite direction, then everything is on the table.
And you would be prepared to...
Everything is on the table.
I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I looked, I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
He got fired. Quid pro quo. Okay, guys. Last a little article I wanted to share here. We had some elections this week. There's few in. I think it was, where was this? A Republican district attorney in New York faced a challenger backed by more than $800,000 from George Soros, but she came out victorious and mocked him in her victory speech. Soros funded the New York Justice and Public Safety Political Action Committee. Now, George Soros is funding all these small races all over the country. He's got quadrillion dollars, and he's using it for evil. But guess what? We have the Holy Spirit. So on Tuesday, Dorley soundly defeated Mitchell with 56% of the vote. Tongue in cheeks, she gave thanks to him in her victory speech. The Republican Party in Monroe County is not dead, and we are alive and well. She jokingly thanks George Soros here.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. It's great to see so many people here, and you know, I'm going to say one thing to the room and to everyone who's listening. You know what? The Republican Party in Monroe County is not dead, and we are alive and well. And look at all of the great people here. We still have the energy, and we will be back. Absolutely. And I am back for another 4 more years. So thank you, George Soros.
Wow.
So
that's cool.
So yeah, I guess George Soros was Soros doesn't know a darn thing about me, she says. His New York PAC doesn't know a darn thing about me. So that was kind of a good little story there. All right. Guys, now you know what's up.
Now you are well aware and versed in what has happened this week in the news. Thank you to Leah.
And if you want to hang out for some fun, we're going to close this show off. And we're going to open some cards and goodies that you guys have sent for Michelle for her birthday. This is always so much fun because we get to kind of make a connection with you guys. And so stick around. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Put your comments in the comments at the end.
Yeah, and send us your letters. We will read your letters on air. P.O.
We
Box
love to read letters.
107, Milford, Ohio 45150. We'll be back here on Sunday for our 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time show for our world news. Always Brexit. We're always talking about Brexit and so much more. We go to Sweden. We may bring Greta back. You never know. Even though they banned one of our videos.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Greta was banned. All right, guys. So we'll be back.
5 minutes from now. Literally.
5 minutes.
Maybe leaving less than 5 minutes.
We will be back.
Okay. We love you guys. God bless.
I was cold all alone. No place for home every day. So afraid, but you call my name.